I'd like to call to order the June 20th, 2019 Board of Aviation Commissioners meeting. Members present, myself, Kirk Hunter, Greg Poulin, new member Jeff Bartlett, T.Y. Elkison, also present, is Gene Simmons, Paul Schaefer, and Jessica Ward. Everybody get a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes. I make a motion, pass the minutes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Financials.
All right. We are still over our projected budget in gas electric by $1,157.10, but as you know well, by the end of the year, the account will probably even itself out. I am going to need to transfer money into our office supplies account as we're showing a balance of negative $34.90 there. In April, the city IT department installed those 2 new dual monitors in my office, which I love. They also installed them in many other offices and departments in the city, and they cost $401.08, which was 42% of our budget in our office supplies account. So I'm not worried about that account either. I can pull from small tools, diesel, gasoline, towards the end of the year when I know exactly how much more I'll need in office supplies.
What are the dual monitors I'm talking about?
The computer monitors.
Oh, okay.
My big 2 dual computer monitors. They're like curved
Did you read them?
fancy.
Yes.
Yes. Our major office supplies cost is laser jet toner. So I have extras, and we have 4 laser jet printers, and I have extra cartridge for each printer, so we should be okay there. Aviation fuel, 8.49% spent. We just ordered Jet A, a full load of Jet A. I took our price down to $330. And aviation projects, we have an AIP rollover. And I also added those to our decrease lines on the end. You can see how much we used this month over previous, which I never had on there before. Thought that was kind of interesting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for accounts.
Thank you. Fuel cells?
Overall, we sold 1,132.5 gallons of 100 low lead, 2,113.5 gallons of Jet A, 55.1 gallons of Swift fuel in May. Our self-service 100 low lead price is $4.44 a gallon. Full service 100 low lead is $4.54. Our Jet A is $3.30, and our self-service UL94 is $4.43 per gallon. So as you can see, LaPorte and Knox are under us. Knox is a lot, but LaPorte is only 5 cents. And Valparaiso is at $4.64. And then for Jet, I'm at $3.30. LaPorte is at $3.86, and then Valparaiso is at $3.99.
Good.
UL94 were under LaPorte. And Knox got rid of the MoGas. I just found that out. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Are they going to get Swift?
Nope.
Okay.
Can you tell us about the airport, the pancake breakfast?
I will. The Fly and Drive and Pancake Breakfast is going to be Sunday, July 14th, 2019. Everybody has a flyer in their folder for your convenience. The FOP Dune Lodge number 75 Auxiliary is actually putting on a breakfast this year. Usually it's the FOP Dune Lodge that does it, and the auxiliary just helps, but now the auxiliary is putting on and the FOP is going to help. So that'll be pretty interesting. We have airplane rides and skydiving, obviously weather dependent, a K-9 demonstration at 10 a.m. That'll be awesome. Last year that was really cool. The Edith House, fire truck, different police vehicles will be here on display. I sent out a flyer to all Indiana airport managers asking them to post it or distribute as they see fit. And I've requested our tenants to invite pilots they know from local airports. I've also invited the Memorial Med Flight helicopter from Beacon Health Systems to fly the helicopter in for a static display. They did that last year, was really bad with weather, but the year before they did that, and it was a big hit as well. The gentleman that does the helicopter rides, we had that 1 year, and it was really great. He retired. He wasn't able to come the last 2 years. We had it 3 years ago. He wasn't able to come the last 2 years because he was, I think one of them, like the biggest, I don't know, some helicopter event was going on for one pancake breakfast. And then the other pancake breakfast, it was like some county fair that he was, doing, right, or something for. So he wasn't able to come, and he just retired in December, so now we have no more helicopter work. But it was really awesome. He got a lot of rides from that.
Anybody at the Lansing airport, can we contact somebody there to give us a few minutes for rides?
Do they have a helicopter there?
Lansing Airport, I think they train for helicopters.
Really?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Who-
Okay.
What's the
Lansing
name of
does.
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't know
reach
the
out.
name of the company.
I'll reach out
It's
to
a
him, yeah,
private
that would.
company.
the one in Michigan?
Lansing.
Lansing, Illinois.
Illinois.
They do.
Yeah, I'll see if maybe they can do that, because, I mean, they had a lot, as long as the weather is good.
Mhm.
I think he must have given, my guess is he gave like 30 rides during the course of the pancake breakfast when he was here. He really did a
When
good
you say
job.
gave, was it free?
No, it cost. I think it was like, either $45 or $55 a ride. And you just kind of went around, looked at the lake, brought him back. I mean, they were up for like 15 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Mhm.
You could make some money at that.
Will that be a helicopter?
Can we rent?
Yeah, right?
Can we
Rent
one?
Make one. T.Y. will show you how to make one.
Yes, we'll do a helicopter bill.
Stand back, here we go.
Next year, 2020.
So pancake breakfast, I'll contact Lansing, I'll write
Okay,
that down.
very cool.
Coffee with the seniors.
Yes.
The mayor invited me to speak at Coffee with the Seniors on May 28th. That is always fun at the senior center. So I, of course, talked about the runway extension project and answered questions about the airport. And it's very interesting going there to the senior center and talking to them. And then, of course, all of them wanted to give me a tour of the senior center for when I turned 55. I'm like, it's like 20 years away. But they were really excited to show me every room, and these are our magazines you can take for free, and it was really fun. It was a good time. And then the guys are trying to get me to like play pool with them in their league, and it was fun. It was a good time. So Coffee with the Seniors. It was almost a full day event.
Goodness.
The FAA Safety Team Forum this Saturday, 10 a.m. here at the airport. There's going to be an FAA Safety Team event. It is a representative from South Bend Air Traffic Control are going to be here for a pilot controller forum. Registration's online through the FAA Safety Team webpage, and I always supply donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, which are always gone. I never get any. So that's this Saturday. New land lease option for leases needing extensions. Last month, the board approved extending the lease for Michigan City Hangar Owners Association. Remember that? So after speaking to Bill Nelson, he reminded me that we want all of our extensions to go to new leases. So I'm currently working with the leases. I'm moving some leases that need extensions to those new leases. Those should be on the agenda for the next month, in the next month or two. And those leases are MC Hangar Owners Association and National Realty. Those are the two. That's Humes and Burr or Buzz Air. Those are the two that need. And then also Lee Chody, but he's on this one. And he already signed his new land lease and was really happy to move over to a new one. No problems at all. And I think that's it for me, airport manager.
Paul?
Okay.
Approved runway 2, sorry, RPZ.
Yeah, we've got a few items on our agenda this month, including the runway. So I'll talk about the runway first, and then we'll circle back to the other items. So we had submitted the revisions to the draft environmental assessment. That's what EA stands for here. Back in May. We also had made offers to Tone and Blank back in April. So we got a counter offer from Tone and Blank on that we'll need to discuss this evening. Basically, we also had a meeting with the Chicago Airport District Office. That's what ADO stands for. And Greg and Jessica and I went to that. It was a positive meeting. It was well timed because it was right before they did all their programming. We were able to talk about the total cost of the project and that we didn't want a pause in the construction time frame. We've also had a utility meeting that happened here in the terminal building on the 21st. So we're trying to get all the utilities coordinated because that's one of the first things out of the gate is to relocate the utilities and to put the temporary road in. then NDOT and FAA issued the new funding program, which we'll discuss here right now. So they issued that on Friday. Basically, it's a little, so it takes the pause out that we had in there before, but we start a year later. It takes the pause out, actually we start 2 years later than we wanted to, but it takes the pause out, so we finish a year later than what we wanted. So it adds a year onto our schedule, but at the end of the day, they've got all of the phases in its entirety in here, actually minus 10%. They've been deducting 10% because they think our estimates are too high, so they just arbitrarily dock at 10%. But it doesn't really matter because we bid it or however we procure it during the process. So it's quite an expensive program. You'll see on this chart on the second page of the report here that we agreed to roll this year, which rolling means for each year there's federal funds that the airport gets, and they're called non-primary entitlement funds. There's basically 3 pots of money that the feds give out. Non-primary entitlement for this size airport, because it's a non-primary airport, and there's an entitlement. It's $150,000 each year. That's one pot. Then there's state apportionment money, and that's basically the state of Indiana's apportionment, and it's given to this. It's not given to the state, it's given to the airport, but the airport gets to the state of Indiana Department of Transportation gets to decide where it goes. There's that part. And then the third part is discretionary grant. And that's exactly what it sounds like. That's money that they can put anywhere they want in the program. Okay? So that's when you look at this table here, you've got entitlement, apportionment, and discretionary. So the entitlement funds we ended up rolling for 19 as part of our deal that we brokered with them to take the gap out in the funding. So it picks up in 2020, which in 2020, as we'll go through with the counter offer from Tom Blank, in our original offer, we had said we wanted to have a closing on or before October of 2020. Well, in order for that to happen, we need to have the federal money pretty sure secured. So they listened to us in that meeting. When we went to Chicago, we said, look, this is very important. We've got a willing seller. We've got a negotiated purchase agreement. This can all happen, but we need you to work with us. And they did. So they put that on there. So that's a very positive thing. Then the issue is we were planning on then going to construction in 2021, but they've got us basically paying back the city on some of the design fees. The city council fronted $440,000 to help the design down the road, which it'll all come back and it'll then be used as matching funds as part of the project as we move forward. And then it'll help also get us the bidding packages and all that set up to do the actual construction. So now construction is actually starting in 2022. And with these, basically this is going to put the temporary road in that the US 20 will be using while we cut 20 down. So all the traffic will be put over onto it. So it's got to be built basically to, US highway standards, because it's going to be carrying traffic through a winter. That's a big deal to NDOT. It needs to be safe. They need to be able to plow it. Traffic needs to be able to traverse it without sliding off and all those sorts of things. So that's why it looks like a pretty expensive road, $1.2 million. That's because it is a pretty expensive road. And then we've got the cut part or the utility relocation of 1.4 million. So in 22, we're not really impacting airfield operations much. All of that preparatory work will be done, but it's got to be done before we can build the bridges and things. So then in 23 and 24, 23, we're going to start building the bridges and then roll right into the runway construction. So Jeff, this being your first meeting, basically, when we build this runway extension, we're building half of a tunnel and half of a bridge, if you will. So we're cutting 12, building up 12 feet to get the clearance for the road to go through. But when we build up that 12 feet, now that whole end of the south end of the runway has to be elevated up, basically 12 feet at the roadway. It ends up being about 19 feet at the end of the runway. So all that fill needs to be brought in, and we'll have to connect. If you look on that drawing where the color coding goes, back where the shading stops is where it ties back into the existing grades.
Okay.
So we have to go that far back on the existing runway to make sure it's nice and smooth and meets all the vertical curve criteria for the aircraft.
Makes sense.
So that's that'll happen. 23, we'll be building the bridge structure and putting in all the fill on the south side. We will have a displaced threshold. It'll take you down to 2,000 foot of available runway in 2023. That's not ideal. Hopefully Skydive can still, get some operation. Your base single engines will. There'll be no jet activity for the 2023. 2024, that's when we'll build the ramp, and basically, for whatever period of time it takes, it won't be the whole year, but for whatever period of time it takes from when we get the money, virtually the airport will be closed, because we'll be tying into the 2,000 feet that we had open, tying it to the new runway build, and making it all one nice surface at that time. So sometime late 2024, or depending if we get the money too late in 2024, it might be early 2025 before the runway is actually open. But, I know it's starting 2 years later than we wanted, but they do have the program all the way through completion, which last year, if you remember, we only had about 50% of our money in. So now they've got all the money in. Last year also they had us having a break between the runway end build-up and the connection for the whole year. So it was basically going to shut the airport down for a 3-year period, and that was not going to be good.
Yeah.
And so we've got, this is a huge improvement. I'm very encouraged by this. They really seem to be bought in on the project. So
It's moving forward, that's the best thing.
yeah, there's a few key steps that we had to do. One, we had to get hired. That happened 4 years ago now. The second thing was we had to do a runway length justification, because the road in the runway protection zone, we tried to use that all on its own, saying, look, this is a safety risk, and it's the new advisory circular doesn't allow the road in there. And that in itself was not enough for them to consider the project, the 5,000 foot project. So we had to then go into a runway length justification to get the 5,000 feet, which meant we had to get 500 operations for aircraft that wanted to use the 5,000 foot runway. So we went through that step, got it signed off. Then the RPZ study was kind of the second point. It was like, okay, yeah, you need 5,000 feet, but is that the best arrangement that we can do? Why aren't we going north? Why aren't we moving the airport? Why aren't we moving the road? Why aren't we doing all those different things? And so we went through that, and that was a lengthy process as well, but we've got a sign off on this arrangement right here to move forward. And the short history behind that is there was a big push to go north for almost 20 years.
I remember growing up, everybody's talking about it. I know
Okay.
everybody back and forth, so I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So environmentally, that just never flew.
Right.
So this looks good. So now there are two remaining points. The environmental that we were talking about has been revised back and forth. In our meeting, Bob did ask us to prepare a matrix on the US EPA. Ironically enough, they responded back to our draft, so we don't have to respond to the 12-page letter. There's now a 4-page letter.
Oh, good.
So we are doing that. We actually have it done. It's just being proofed internally, so that should be out probably tomorrow. Back to Bob.
So, will this push back the 2 years? Is that going to have any impact
on any of the surveys that we've already had and paid for, or like the EA, for instance?
Yeah, well,
Because that's why we had to redo it last year,
yeah,
because it was like 5.5 years. Now we're going, and I'm looking, I'm thinking, well, 2023, that's gonna be right at the edge point.
right. So the ALP and the EA haven't been signed off on yet, so the clock hasn't started ticking on
Okay.
the 3 years.
All right.
But yes, on the survey data, there is a date in there. The thing of it is what I was talking about, when we did the ALP, one of the things they look at are the profiles of the runway and the runway approaches. So they're looking at all of the objects that are in the approach to the runway, and if there are any penetrations to the approach surfaces. And that data, we knew that there was nothing but trees. And so our philosophy was, that was 2011 data. We said, okay, it's 2011 data. The trees have grown. They're already a penetration. They were already a penetration, an obstruction in 2011. They didn't shrink. So we know there's still a penetration. We're not going to go out and survey those again because we know we're cutting them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But they just wanted to make sure that all the boxes were checked appropriately, and we needed to update that survey data. So we spent a lot of money, $80,000, flying it with aircraft, surveying all the trees to find out that the trees are indeed 8 feet taller than they were in 2001. And so we've got to cut all these trees. It didn't really change the game, but we checked the box. So now, to your point, Greg, that is the existing conditions part. And so when you build a runway now, you will submit in the airport's GIS, Geographic Information System, we'll submit the proposed data. Then we build the runway, and then in order to get your approaches, which the approaches take about 18 months from the time you submit as-built survey data. But the point I'm making is we'll have to do all that surveying again, and that's what's part of our case too. We're going to have to do all that surveying again when the runway is built to prove that we've removed the obstructions and that the runway was built the way we planned.
But we don't have to do it before that.
We shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have
That's what I was wondering
Right.
about the delay. If it
Right. I don't think
impacted, like, EAs are good for how long? But you said it didn't start yet, the clock.
Right. The EA is good for 3 years, but it hasn't been approved. So let's say we get that approved in 2019.
We're still gonna do another one.
No, the 2022 will be okay as long as we start in 2022.
But, so, once you start it, but before the end of the project, you'll have to do another one?
No, once the project starts, the way the rules work is as long as you're making progress on the project, we've got some EAs on some other runways extensions that are 5 years old, but because it's not uncommon to have a lot of preparatory projects, moving power lines, moving water lines, moving
Utilities.
and all this sort of stuff. So, the day we started moving power lines on this other project, the clock, you were continuously working on the project. You've turned dirt, in other words. But if it's sat there without doing anything for 3 years, then you have to do what's called a written reevaluation at the end of the 3 year period.
All right.
Yep. So that's all of the runway update. Would you like to consider the total counteroffer at this time before we do the other stuff?
I think so.
Okay. In your packet, you'll see a written counteroffer for Tone Blanc. And this offer, really, it does not change the price per acre at all. What it does is it keeps in there. So let me turn to the second page. You'll see 3 sets of acreages here. These acreages match instrument numbers and the way the deeds are recorded. That 7.504, this is an amount that we had subtracted out of our appraisals because that is NDOT right away. And we said, okay, somewhere along the line, somebody should have been compensated for this right away, and therefore we shouldn't pay for it because NDOT's already compensated somebody for this right away, and nor did and our appraisal said Tom Blank likely didn't pay for that, so it subtracted it out. So our offer was basically the two top numbers added together. But Tom Blank has provided us proof that when they bought the property, they paid the price per acre for 54.111. And in other words, they paid for that right of way.
Yeah.
And to further that, NDOT never actually ever paid anybody for the right of way. The easement exists, there was never a transaction. And as a matter of fact, Olmsted granted the easement to NDOT, but they still own the fee simple title under the road. But then, so it got a little goofy here and all that. End of the story is when Tone and Blank bought that property, they bought 54.11 acres. We're buying 54.11 acres, but we are subtracting 7.5 acres out of it because of the NDOT right of way. The counteroffer is that, hey, they paid for the 7.5 acres. We should pay them for the 7.5 acres because that's an expense that they incurred. I personally think that the board should move forward with this. The FAA is not even going to see this as a cost increase. It's just going to be a clarification on the acreage acquired.
And Bill agreed.
And Bill agreed in the email. Of course, we'll have him review all the language to make sure that it's good because I'm not an attorney. But it'd be my recommendation tonight that the board, make a motion to accept the Tone Blank counter offer subject to Bill's review and he returns.
He's on vacation.
Well,
I think they fair.
And we can talk about it or whatever.
the only question one thing that comes to mind is if somebody paid for something in error, now we're doing that again. So.
Yeah, and I think by us paying for it now, it makes the world right. Because NDOT should have compensated somebody along the way, but they never did.
Is there a way for us to approve this and then have IDOT or NDOT give us that
Pay
money
back.
back?
Okay, so yeah, Jeff, that's a good point. So what's going to happen here is that we're buying this property and we have to buy additional right-of-way because of our walls. We have got these retaining cut walls that we're putting in, and we have these 75-foot long straps that go back in. It doesn't fit in the existing NDOT right-of-way, so we were buying additional right-of-way beyond that 7.5 acres anyway. And our deal right now is because NDOT doesn't have to let us do this project, but in the spirit of cooperation, they are, and they've been pretty good to work with. So we were going to give them the right-of-way back at the end of the project. So, but we had always assumed that they had already paid for their existing right-of-way. So this is a discussion I think we can have with them, Jeff, but at the end of the day, we're kind of not going to be too pushy because we want to.
No, I think we need to move forward.
Right.
I just didn't know. I understand. They want to get Tone and Blank paid for it, and they want to make it right and get their money somehow.
Right.
They don't want to lose out.
Right. And I think we go ahead and close this deal with Tone Blank. That conversation with NDOT is yet a future conversation that we'll have, that we will have it and see how it goes. And right. And an $18 million job, they're not going to throw out for $113,000.
I'll make a motion to accept the counter offer, provided, as Jessica said, Bill Nelson agrees that those 3 parcels were purchased by Tone and Blank.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's circle back to the top part of the agenda real quick, if you don't mind. We were discussing, in order to receive federal funds, we have to have the disadvantaged business enterprise plan in place. And that's a requirement to receive federal funds. So, attached to your agenda is a sample of how the goal methodology works. It basically, you'll see that we are proposing a goal of 5.4%, that all federal funds spent, there'll be a goal of 5.4%, which is $838,000 over the course of this project. Actually, it's not over the course of the entire project. That's through 2022. So it's a 3-year goal. Every 3 years we have to up this. How we come up with that, if anybody's interested in the math on that, on the next page. It's basically, everybody understands percentage, right?
Right.
There's a
We
number,
got the math.
right, there's a number of companies ready and willing to do business in the area that are just licensed to do business, that can do this kind of work. And then there's a number of companies that are registered disadvantaged business enterprises that are ready and willing to do the work. So we just do a simple ratio. Boom, how many total versus how many there? Do that, it's a ratio. There are 5.4% of the disadvantaged companies in this area that can perform these tasks. We come up with 5.4%.
Now, excuse me, the percentage doesn't have to kind of march along for the 3-year period, right? I mean, it could be, you could have the DVEs covered in theory in one event at the start, right? And it could go well over that 5.4%, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you can go under it too. It's just, that is the goal. And so if you go under goal, you have to, basically there's a terminology, good faith effort. You have to make a good faith effort to engage all of these companies. So when we procure the actual construction work, there's a whole bunch of documents in here. When we do professional services, we're looking for opportunities to use the DBEs too. The 5.4%, to your point, Kirk, you could do it all. You could have 30% in year one and do zeros the rest of the year. So it can be divvied up that way. But for the total program, you're trying to hit 5.4% over the 3-year period. And it shouldn't be, some of the common concerns is, does this drive up prices of the contract? In this area, there are enough disadvantaged firms that are registered to do business. This should have a big issue.
Doesn't have to be up for like 30 days.
Yep, so now the
Because our next
process,
meeting is a lot sooner because we pushed back a week. So we're
Well,
not gonna hit 30
This
days.
is from
By
October.
July.
it doesn't have to be a full 30
No,
days.
it's to our July meeting. It's when it needs to be posted.
Okay, actually, so the last time we did it, it had to be in a newspaper.
Yeah.
We don't have to put it on a newspaper anymore. We need to put it on the city or the airport website.
Okay.
And then on your next advertisement for the meeting agenda, just 48 hours advance, put in there that we are going to accept public comment on the advertised DBE goal.
Okay.
So then on the next meeting, we need to have a time where we open up for comment, close for
Because
comment.
I think it's only 2 weeks from now, our next meeting, right?
Probably.
Wow.
We,
That's 3 weeks, I think.
Maybe it is 3 weeks.
I'll check with
I don't have my phone on
Andrew,
me.
but I don't think the 30 days is a requirement.
Okay, yeah,
as
just
long
find
as-
out if we can make sure that it's on our July.
And what's that figure that you have from, what did you say, October 1, 2019 to September 30th, 2022?
Yeah,
Are you saying 838,000?
yeah, and that's based off of the projects listed and the estimates on here.
But we're not hitting the big part till 2023.
Yeah, I know. This is just in the event, don't worry about that worry about 5.4%.
Okay,
It's gonna be 5.4 of whatever we spend.
okay.
But in the event, let's say, Greg, that we got so basically what Andrew did was,
Right, he put the whole project in there. I see.
right, just
I see.
in the event money started falling from the sky,
Right,
we've got it in there.
And
that's
we're
right.
hoping it does. We're hoping it
Well,
falls.
I'll make a motion to accept the draft, the draft of disadvantaged business enterprise goal of 5.4%.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's what I was saying. That's what I did.
Thank you, I think that's about it. Miscellaneous items. I still,
I I didn't hear.
Aye.
Thank you. I just need to make sure, because I have to put that in my notes if somebody does not say aye.
My voice is quiet tonight.
We'll have another percent tonight.
Yeah, miscellaneous, I still owe Jessica this exhibit. Jessica, and I have it done, I just forgot to bring it. Oh,
What?
the exhibit,
My Cohen exhibit?
Bring it next month.
your hanger exhibit on it there.
Oh,
next one.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you better send it to me because I want it now!
Okay.
What's the hanger exhibit?
A copy?
So, if people wanna build hangers here, which we have a lot of interest at, it shows them this is a ready spot right now. Put your money down, take money, here you go. Start building today.
Mhm.
That's it, literally, that's what it is.
Yeah, but Paul, you already got that, just you haven't sent it?
We've got it started, and I think the CAD technician put it on my desk to review, and I never reviewed it because I've been out the last 2 weeks, and I haven't reviewed it, so he hasn't sent it out.
So everybody was out last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal.
And that's really about it. The lighting got adjusted.
Yeah, the lighting got adjusted Tuesday. John Feister met me here, TY was here, and Continental Electric, the contractor was here. And we adjusted the lighting to this exhibit, which I thought Paul was already talking about. We put cones out on the runway and try to get the guy to adjust the lights to hit those cone spots, to figure out how we could light up the whole entire ramp with those lights. So some of them are angled a little more to the left, a little more to the right. But they're all, so we were hoping that they were gonna be able to fully adjust at any height up and down, but they're in notches. So it's you hit this notch, you hit this notch, you hit this notch, you hit that notch. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's no oh, that's gonna be perfect, so
You
it's
need a
not.
half notch.
Yeah, we needed a half notch. So it's not perfect, but it's as good as we can do with these lights. I actually showed Kirk this morning when he came to talk to me. I showed him the picture of John Feister. I told John, I'm go all the way out to the other side of the ramp. I'm going to take a picture of you out there so, to show you guys, because you're not here in the dark. A lot TY is, but you guys really aren't. So you can see that, you can literally see the other side of the ramp. Now the ramp lighting adjusted. So it was very exciting for us to have that project done. We did also, John and I, went down the runway and we went down the taxiway to see how bright those, are, because, as you see the angle, even on the one right here, it just cannot be totally horizontal, right? It needs to be a little less, that was what the rule was. And so they are, but barely, and so it's pretty bright out there, but I don't think anything that's gonna be a super distraction. So TY's usually flying at night, so he'll let me know how distracted he was by our office.
Those are about a 10 degree.
Well, don't look at them directly.
That's right.
Yeah, we figured that out. TY and I were back there, we couldn't even see each other,
Blinders.
yeah, they're bright. Yeah.
John texted me, he's like, you really want this 7.5 degrees? Because that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, right?
The engineer, I'm like, I can go out 3 decimals if you want.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And so it was so Luke took a picture of the contractor and then he brought it down. He's like, these are the notches, and we're like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. So he just put them all up to the next notch up, and that's all you get. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. We like it. So now the only outstanding we have is we need dirt. We need dirt, we need grass seed. That's the next outstanding for the ruts from when they put those lights in. Before the pancake breakfast, it has to be good and level, grass growing. They have 3 weeks to figure it out, or Paul and I have 3 weeks to figure it out. Either way, it's getting figured out in 3 weeks because it needs to be perfect, so nobody breaks an ankle.
Yeah, and this was one of those quick and dirty quotes, and we put it out in 36 hours. It doesn't have a full spec book. I think it's implied that he was supposed to restore the ground, but we didn't specifically say. So if there's a fee for the dirt and the seed, let me know. I'll take care of it. It's just.
Yeah, we did.
What square footage is it? I
think it's that much, really.
Just get some cuts aside and just be done with it, or?
Some of them are a little too deep, Kirk and I walked it.
No, but your fill,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you're done.
Yeah, we can do that.
It might be, what, 20 yards?
A fill?
Yeah.
20 20 yards.
That's
That dirt that's been
That's
sitting
a
like,
lot, that's a lot of dirt.
That's,
I don't think he moved 20 yards. of
I'm
dirt.
hoping we don't
Maybe
need 20.
3.
Yeah,
maybe.
5
Yeah.
would be the most, I'd say.
you can bring the rest of me out.
you know that pile
Yeah,
of dirt
right.
that's
We'll
sitting
take
in my
care,
driveway?
believe me, we have plenty of places out there to use it.
20 yards, that's a lot of dirt.
That's what I said last.
Old business as usual. Hopefully you remembered.
What's the old business? Sorry.
And so I think that is everything on our report development.
Old
Yeah.
business,
So the grass strip runway, and this was our former planner had basically laid out here. And so what the issue is there's not enough room for a runway to runway separation without buying additional property to have it as an FAA approved landing strip. What other airports do is if you don't chart it, but you mow a spot and the pilot's discretion want to land there, that happens a lot. There are multiple grass strips around the state like that. But if you want it to be published on a chart or have it recognized by the FAA, then we would have to buy property because basically the closest runway to runway centerline separation that we could have, or you could do an intersection if we could find, but there's not, with obstructions on each side, there's not really enough room to go crosswise either. So if you do parallel, you need 750 foot offset, and you'd have to have all of these, basically those. So,
And we also have the AWAS.
yep, the AWAS.
That's right up in there. The skydive landing area is in there over
That
there.
big circle is the AWAS, that big grass circle.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually the skydive where they land.
Oh,
They
there's the
AWAS is
AWAS,
right
there it is,
there,
yes.
So I mean, and also, we couldn't even get out there with a lawnmower to cut the skydive circle because you can't even get out there, it's so wet. So Rudy went out there with the tractor and used the batwing mower in order to cut that circle. And there's nowhere to come
There's
over
some
from
ravines in
there.
there,
Like, this is
too.
all a ditch, the whole length. So I don't know where an airplane would even taxi from over there onto there's nowhere they can taxi. They would have to come the only place they could taxi is come all the way down here. And this is all hills, you see it.
oh yeah.
There's like hills everywhere. This is a whole hill, you have to go over in order. This is the only place that you can get from this side across the ditch.
Yeah, they're gonna end up
It's right
running,
here. That's the only place
flipping
on
over
the whole
aircraft
airfield.
and, busting up gear.
Alright, well,
We literally did due diligence
that's
looked into
fine.
it.
Maybe,
Real good.
maybe just an email to everybody from you, just saying these are the problems, right?
Yeah, we can do that. We did that the last time we talked about it.
So,
But yeah, I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
Anytime it comes up, we'll use the same
Okay,
email.
it's just to respect some of the tenants that were asking me to bring it to the board, so.
Mhm.
Are they tail draggers or what type of,
I'm sorry. No.
I'm sorry, are they like tail dragger pilots or
These are
what?
Cubs,
Yeah, Cubs.
yeah.
I get it, it's fun.
Three of them.
150 feet take off.
No, I know, I get it.
Well, what I would recommend is what DeKalb County, for example, does, is they have a segment, and then only the locals know about it, but they have a segment between the parallel taxiway and the runway that they roll. They bring out big rollers and they roll it down really nice. And they've got it, so there's no drainage structures or any right there. And it's basically, if you just go right outboard of the runway lights, they land in the grass there all the time,
Good.
and then taxi up onto the runway.
So that would be something.
Always gonna have
Right
2,000
here,
feet
right?
now, so.
So this. Dale takes off from here and takes
Yeah,
off
the
and
intro.
stuff, so.
Throughout the whole process.
How much are they asking, lengthwise?
Not in the last year, but
I don't think they really need much,
not in the last year.
so I would assume between here and here.
These are our peppy lights.
Yeah, so somewhere, yep, right there up to the next connector, something like that. That would be your only off-book option, I think. That would be a Cub should be able to land in there if they want.
Is that pretty smooth in there?
No.
Why would they not end on the second half of the runway at that point? Because, I mean, when we're backfilling, all that's gonna be out. Up to
No,
the,
they're talking about a turf strip, permanent turf strip.
oh, there's the play strip. I'm sorry. I thought you were looking for alternates.
No.
Oh,
Well, I wonder what the liability issues though are, having a, say, hey, we provided this for you. It's not approved by anybody.
Land at your own risk.
Yeah.
And sign something.
Well, the thing of it is the airport doesn't provide it.
Mhm.
You just happen to roll that shoulder nice and smooth. The pilot's discretion to land out there.
where's the nearest grass strip from here?
Knox has one.
No.
LaPorte, I think, has one. I don't know if it's
Right.
official, but they have something. You have landed on that one.
Yeah.
We don't have official.
7 miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not uncommon to have it off book, but I would say if EA wants to invest the time to roll it out and get it smooth, then, maybe it's a good EA chapter project that you could clean up the runway shoulder and start using it or something, and it's kind of your little thing.
Could you do it after the runway extension? Take that extra whatever dirt, whatever they've got, and use it off to the side to kind of level it?
We're gonna need
We're
more
not
dirt.
gonna have an extra anything.
Well, I didn't know.
We're about like
we're
7
gonna-
billion yards.
Yeah.
Well, they might have a little bit extra to.
That's cool.
No,
Is it?
just not throw it in there.
That is closer to your fault. You're
7
20
million.
yards, his 7 million.
7 million, 20 yards.
Leave Kirk alone.
You can make fun of that kid. Go
But
ahead.
yeah, T.Y., we can send the email that we had a summary on before. Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll find it.
New business. Got hustle repair trading options.
So we have our oldest Hustler mower. It's on schedule to be traded in this year. It was purchased in 2015. It's in the shop for repair right now. And since it's on the schedule as our next mower to be traded in, I figured I'd get the trade-in price for it now, and if it pleases the board, get a new Hustler now instead of wait till the end of the season. Because then we're gonna do this repair, get it back to us, just in case there's any other possible accruing repair invoices by the end of the season, and trade it at the end of the season. We do not have a grant this year, so our local match, so the 150 is available to use this year. Riggs is giving us $4,000 for trade-in, which is typical of them. Our cost after trade-in will be $8,399. It's a new Hustler Super Z 72-inch deck. The repair invoice is $549.32. If we would like to go that route, the repair invoice includes removing broken studs from the flywheel and having new parts installed because the fan studs broke and the fan shroud
We use it.
destroyed itself. 2015 is when we purchased it. They also had to do a replacement muffler because they found cracks in the exhaust pipes going into the muffler. So we would not pay the repair invoice. They would take care of that with the trade-in, or else we pay the repair invoice.
Are we in a program where we're doing like one a year?
I need my pens in here. Yeah,
Sorry.
remember when Doug was here?
Yes,
Doug, yeah, we
Yeah,
figured out a
so-
plan that would,
space them out.
space them out. So that's the next one.
This one would be the next in line.
Yep, this one's the next in line. And actually, I think it was in line to get traded in last year, but we didn't need to really trade it in. And we didn't have any issues with it or anything, so there's no reason to trade it in yet. So we're doing it, this year.
How many do we have?
We have 3.
Okay.
Yep, we have 3 Hustlers. 2 we got at the same time. One of them that we got at the same time, we were on a trade-in schedule where we would trade 2 in at a time, is what we would usually do. Well, then we went to trading in 1 a year. So it's like every year you're trading in 1 instead of taking a hit for 2 mowers or 3 mowers in 1 year. So what happened when we had 4 mowers in a year, they would all kind of see the same issues. So sometimes we would have all 3 of them in the shop and then we'd be down to 1 because they'd
Makes it
all
hard.
see the same, correct.
Right.
So then we went to 2 and 2, and so that's what happened the last time, but the 2 that we got before our 2 new mowers, they just had like issues with electrical problems with the engine, like it was strange, Riggs couldn't figure it out. So this is the second one of the one that they literally gave us another mower, like we are sorry about your trouble. here is a new hustler, like literally because they could not figure it out. It was in the shop more, those seasons, these two were in the shop more than they were here. It was horrible. So this is just the last one of those two. So the 2 replacement mowers, I just looked, we only have 175 hours on one, and we have like 315 hours on the other, so those will be okay. But, you know, this one is just one of the older ones, and it's on the trade-in schedule, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve for the trade-in.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I think it's a great idea. Thank you. Okay. Lease extensions?
Yes. The lease extension request we have is for A5-3, which is Lee Tody's hangar. His lease is up in September, so he gave me the 90-day extension notification. I did tell him that we were going to the new land leases, and he was totally fine with doing one of our new land leases. So I have it here if you guys want to approve that. It's all ready to go. So here's the new land leases that we just had. Bill put these together. We had literally the same lease from like 1983 or 1985 or something. And so Bill Nelson went through our lease, put together this new lease. It was approved by the board to be used from now on. And any lease extension that comes up, because they're on 20, our leases here are 20 years with 2 options for 2 10-year extensions is what they are here. So Lee Tody had already done a 20-year. He already asked to extend it for 10 years. We extended it 10 years, and now he's up for a second. He was the first hanger on this field, Lee Tody's was. So here it is, and this is the new lease. I asked Bill about if I should offer them for 20 years with still the 10 years extension since they're only extending it for 10. And Bill said it doesn't matter. It's not like in our leases we take them back at the end anyways. So it doesn't matter how many year leases it is. So he's told me just to offer it for the 20 years with the 2 10-year extensions. And it's the same thing as just offering it on a 10-year. So I said, okay, so there's the new lease. And it has the personal guarantor thing in it, even though it's just an individual anyways, him and his wife.
Should I give him a plaque?
And where do you come up with the
I know,
starting
right?
number when you put the starting number?
That's his from this year.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so the land lease just continues, same dollar amount continues forward.
I'm actually serious.
Sure, we could do that.
Do what?
Give him a plaque for being the first here and for staying here continuously. You know,
Like a founding hangar pilot or whatever.
something like
Does
that.
that work in your capacity? What? Gold star?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
The key.
That'll make him feel happy, I think. Who
We
was that?
like to make our tenants feel happy, Kurt.
Who was the second person here?
I don't know, I'd have to look at the leases.
When did they open?
Lee knows when every single hangar was built out here, when it was built, who built it, how they built it, what they built it with.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the extension
ask
for
him.
Tody's hangar 85-3.
Jeff?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You ever sign that? That's in the back there.
Well, that's cool.
Oh, yes, please sign. You have 2 copies circulating.
New
Oh, wait,
business.
I did put you down, see how good I
Can I
am?
bring up a new old business?
Doesn't matter. I
Sure.
have 2 lines. I don't know what.
No, you just sign it.
Curious, do we have hay covers this year?
Yes, we do.
what?
Hay covers.
The
Oh, yeah, we
ground
do.
is so wet, but we're at the point where he has
But
to
do
come out
we-
and mow where we have to.
Were they using last year's approval?
Yep, because we did a 2-year contract.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I wasn't sure.
Yep, and still Russell Thomas. He did a great job last year. He wishes that, oh my gosh, I was driving past Evergreen Plaza and they have one of those, those big machines, I know nothing about machinery, those big machines that like is making a parking lot. I was like, we need that on the other side of our runway. For 2 weeks, we need to rent one of those things and like even out the whole entire field over there. There's your strip right there.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that would be totally cost prohibitive, but those things are awesome. But yeah, he's gonna get out there real soon or else we're gonna have to mow it because the grass is falling up to where
Yeah, so wet.
we're being, kind of in our wildlife hazard management plan length.
You should get one of those tractors.
That's what it is.
Oh, it
You
is?
have to look.
Yeah.
Evergreen Plaza, like across the street from Evergreen Plaza. They're using that, they're making a big parking lot. And I just sat there and watched him go back and forth. And like build up, all that stuff and then fill in the holes and then build it up and then fill them all. Like, it was cool.
Yeah.
We need to use that out here on the whole entire airport. That'd be fantastic.
I'm kind of disturbed by the new sign that Troy puts on the road there, the arrow into, as if, it's not obvious enough. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like, what is that? How narcissistic can you be as a business to want that? I'm just curious.
So I'll
What does
tell
that
you.
mean?
this is what happened. So what happened was, we literally, in one day, because he just put up his new sign,
Yes.
but it's on this side of the fence. So people don't realize you have to turn like before the sign, so they just think as they're going along, oh, skydive here, so they keep going along. They don't turn in his little area. His sign needs to be on the other side. So I got into a little conversation with Troy about we need to move the sign to the other side. Well, he spent so much time putting that sign there. He's not doing that right now. Maybe he'll do it for next season, whatever. So in one day here, TY, we had every single person that was supposed to go to the skydive with that new sign there came into this building and said looking to go skydiving.
Hmm.
Every single person. I'm like, Troy, so my answer to him was, if you don't move that sign, you have to do something. You have to do something to get people to go in that driveway instead of this one, because we can't, we have to tell them, well, you have to go out the parking lot, you gotta drive this way. And a lot of these people don't really understand what you're even saying. They're here to skydive, not to, so you have to explain to them where to go, and then they're late for his stuff, and it's just,
So the solution was to
so I told them, you better
degrade road.
figure out something.
Okay.
And so he paints
got
a big arrow on the road.
TY, you don't even know it was there.
That's what he did. I drove in
Does it work?
2 days later, we have less people coming in here, I will say. Because he says in the emails, he told them, in the emails I send these people, I say, follow the white arrow. I was like, okay, TY, or Troy, but it was funny because
That's what
I told him, you have to do something.
Okay,
So that was,
so you're the architect of that.
yeah, sorry about that. If you're not gonna move the sign, you better
We
do
let Troy do whatever he wants.
Yes.
Yeah, this is his airport. We just work here. For free, some of us.
Move the runway to his hangar so he doesn't even have to go through the runway to fly.
And we did have Bill Isley.
Sorry.
Rudy and Lenny were down there fueling Bill Isley. And Julie drove the pack past the hangar twice during the week and in that one morning. And so Bill told Rudy, please tell Jessica to talk to Troy, because I will go to a board meeting if this doesn't get resolved, because I'm not doing this all over again every single year. So I talked to Troy, he said he would talk to Julie, and Bill just said, remember during our conversation, she's not supposed to go past there during the week at all. And then on the weekend, if they're really busy, then she can, but they try not to. They're very best on the weekends, and they don't at all during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So Troy talked to Julie, and Bill was gone for a little while, so I don't think she's done it again. So hopefully that doesn't start up again either. Sorry, that was kind of like a thing I just remembered.
That's good.
Good. Claim docket?
Claims docket, yes. Correspondence.
Okay, we had a one weird amount contest, right? Yeah.
Comcast is an EFT now.
Oh, okay.
So the controller's office pays all of Comcast for the whole city.
I'm-
And so it's on that different page, the EFT page. But I realized after I sent that out, I'm like, oh, that doesn't match, because this is only for 8,200. I'm like, so I figured nobody said anything to me, but I still sent you guys out the second set,
Right. Yeah.
which is the 29,000. Everybody saw that? Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure you guys got that
Yeah.
before the meeting.
Everybody else see it, right?
I did.
Entertain a motion to approve the claims docket.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims docket for $38,179.25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Doesn't have to be approved, right?
Nope.
Gee? Oh. Oh, yes, of course. Correspondence.
Correspondence! We never have correspondence, this is fun for me.
You didn't put it down there.
I know, we got it, we just got it today.
I know.
So we
There you go.
received correspondence from Chris Yagowski from the Michigan City Police Department thanking us for allowing them to use our facility for their emergency vehicle operations course. And he said he is looking forward to October when he'll be able to put all 84 officers through the training exercise. And it's a really nice letter. Did I give you one too? My
Yes, you
correspondence?
did.
Yeah, it was very nice. So we did not get one the last time we let them use it. So this is very nice to receive one this time.
It was necessary, because I was out here for about an hour watching, and I wasn't sure if we were supposed to leave the cones up or get them all down, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Public comment, none? Gene, you have anything?
No.
Good. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Kirk.
You bet.